This is Android Basics, in which we bring you up to date on the things that you should know to use your Android phone.
And now we move to our Android Basics section, where we continue our look at Samsung One UI, and we're going into the system settings this week, and Warren is going to talk about connections.
As we continue with our series on the Samsung One UI, today we'll be jumping into the system settings. I am already in the system settings using my Galaxy S21 and running One UI 5.x. And the first item we're going to look at in these system settings will be the connections, etc., etc. I am here within that area, and now let's navigate and look at the items that we find within the connections and more.
Connections, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, SIM Manager, 4 of 28.
Here we are, and I'll tap here to activate.
Connections, Navigate up, button, out of list.
Let's go through some of the items that we find in here, and then we'll talk about those that are of importance. This is not to say that the items in here are not important, or some of the items in here are not important, but now and then there's something that one pays more attention to and one that one doesn't pay quite much of an attention to. So let's look at these things, and we'll talk about the ones that we think are of great importance. Now, starting from the top, I'm going to go through the items that we find here. Putting my finger down, here's what we got.
Wi-Fi, the mesh, 1 of 9, in list, 9 items.
So we hear Wi-Fi and it says the mesh, and that's the name of my Wi-Fi that I'm connected to. Now, if I tap here, of course, it's going to reveal some other Wi-Fis that are available to me within my neighborhood and things like that. Now, to the right of that is an on-off switch that if I turn that off, then I'll lose connectivity to that Wi-Fi. This is what I'm talking about.
Wi-Fi, switch, on.
Now below that we got
Bluetooth, 2 of 9.
Bluetooth. Of course, we go in here to manage Bluetooth devices, things that you've connected to your phone via Bluetooth, or if you have some other new thing that you would like to kind of pair to your phone, this is where you go into. And of course, to the right of that, we have the SIM switch that if I tap on, will actually turn off the Bluetooth.
Bluetooth, switch, on.
Next, here's what we got.
NFC and contactless payments, 3 of 9.
We have the NFC and contactless payment. So this is something you use in store where there's stores that take virtual payments and things like that. So if you have your wallet set up, when you make a payment or buy something using your phone or pay for some service or some merchandise using your phone, you're using that wallet, that card that you've added to your wallet. And so it uses the NFC near field communication in order to be able to communicate with that terminal. And then to the right of that,
NFC and contactless payments, switch, off.
we have the on/off switch. And mine is switched off by default because this Samsung Galaxy is not my daily driver. You all know I'm a Pixel man. Next, here's what we got.
Airplane mode, 4 of 9.
I don't think I need to even explain this to anyone because we know about the airplane mode. This is when you turn off every connectivity, be it, your cellular connection or your Wi-Fi and things like that. Bluetooth, though, still works in modern Android devices. If you have an older version of Android, of course, your Bluetooth is not going to work. But this is what we're talking about here. You're putting it in an airplane mode. Remember, whenever you get on that plane, they tell you to put your phone in an airplane mode or shut off the phone. That's what we're talking about.
Airplane mode, switch, off.
And to the right of it, of course, is the on-off switch. And I don't want mine off, so mine is not turned off. Moving along, though, we got the following.
SIM Manager, 5 of 9.
We come across SIM Manager. This is where you go in to manage your SIM cards if you have multiple SIM cards, especially if you have a phone that supports dual SIM cards or if you have eSIM capability, then In here, you can go in to manage that. Let's take a quick look at what this all entails.
SIM Manager. Navigate up, button, out of list.
I am in that SIM Manager area, and let's explore and see what we got. Now, putting my finger down, here's what we got.
SIM Cards, heading, 1 of 6.
The first thing we come across is the SIM Card Manager heading, and below that we've got
No SIM card, disabled, 2 of 6.
we hear no SIM card disabled because I do not have any SIM card in this phone. As I indicated earlier, this is not my main driver, so I do not have a SIM card in here. Now, if I did, it would have said the name of the SIM card, or it will be tappable to where I could go in there and change certain things with respect to that SIM card. However, it isn't active, so it's disabled. Now, below that,
eSIMs, heading, 3 of 6.
we have an eSIM heading. So if you have a phone that supports eSIM capability, you'll have the access of choosing as to whether or not you would rather use a physical SIM card or use that eSIM. And so we got that heading, and below that heading, we've got
Add eSIM. Download an eSIM so you can connect to mobile networks without a SIM card. 4 of 6.
So here we got download an eSIM so it could connect to a mobile network. We'll come back to it, but let's look at what else is down here.
Primary SIM, disabled, 5 of 6.
Primary SIM disabled. So if I had, say, for example, although this phone only supports one physical SIM card, if I had a SIM card in there, physical SIM card, and I've also downloaded an eSIM card, I could tap in here in that primary area to choose which one becomes my default. Next.
More SIM settings, 6 of 6.
And we have more SIM settings and 6 of 6. Let's go back up though to that area that talked about downloading an eSIM and see what carriers here in the States, see which ones are supported. Of course, if you're in another country, you'll see what networks there in your country that support that eSIM. So let's go ahead and tap on Download eSIM.
Add eSIM. Download an eSIM so you can connect to mobile networks without a SIM card. 4 of 6.
Let's go ahead and tap.
Add eSIM. Add eSIM, out of list.
Now tapping on Add eSIM, here's what we got. I'll put my finger down.
Choosing your service provider helps us find your eSIM mobile plan. Heading, 1 of 7, in list, 7 items.
So the first thing we need to do here is to choose the provider. And once you choose that provider, then it makes it easier for them to find and give you directions on how to enable that eSIM capability. And so we got
Metro by T-Mobile, 2 of 7.
So if you're on Metro by T-Mobile, you are supported with an eSIM. Next.
T-Mobile, 3 of 7.
Of course, T-Mobile itself is there because T-Mobile is the parent. So you got Metro, T-Mobile also there. And of course, the parent has to be in there. So we got T-Mobile. Next.
US Cellular, 4 of 7.
Here we have US Cellular. And next.
Verizon, 5 of 7.
You can't do without Verizon. There's Verizon in there. Next.
Xfinity Mobile, 6 of 7.
We've got Xfinity Mobile, which is an MVNO, just like Metro by T-Mobile. Next.
Other ways to add eSIMs, 7 of 7.
And we got something that says other ways to add eSIM. Let's go in here, though, and see what these other ways are in the event that these three are not your carrier.
Other ways to add eSIMs. Other ways to add eSIMs, out of list.
Tapping on other ways to add eSIM, here's what we got. I'll put my finger down.
Scan QR code from service provider, 1 of 2, in list, 2 items.
So you could scan a QR code that the provider has provided you to be able to just download their eSIM, or
transfer SIM from another device, 2 of 2.
Or you could transfer a SIM from another device. I wonder how that works. Let's go ahead and tap here and see what it says.
After you transfer the eSIM to this phone, you'll no longer be able to use it on your old device. Cancel, button, out of list.
So, of course, it's telling us that if we transfer eSIM from another device that's the active one in there, we will not be able to use that number on that phone that we've transferred it from. So, we got to cancel.
OK button.
And there's that OK there to the right. Let's see, I'll tap here.
Transfer SIM from another device. Other ways to add eSIMs. Transfer SIM from another device.
Now that I have tapped on OK, let's see what we got.
T-Mobile, 1 of 3.
The first item we hear is T-Mobile.
Other service provider, 2 of 3.
Other service providers. What's next?
Contact your service provider for help if they aren't listed above, 3 of 3.
Or contact your service provider if they're not in the list. Let's see what these other eSIM providers are. My guess is that it will show us some of those that we already saw earlier, but let's go ahead.
Other service provider, 2 of 3.
I tapped on other service providers, and here's what we got.
United States, 1 of 3, in list, 3
We got
items.
United States.
Germany, 2 of 3.
Germany.
Sweden, 3 of 3.
And Sweden. I'm going to tap on United States.
United States. Transfer SIM from another device. T-Mobile, 1 of 3.
And I hear T-Mobile, and then
Other service provider, 2 of 3.
other service providers. And so basically, there's not much in here. If I tap here, for example, it's going to take me back to where we picked up on the United States, I believe. Let's look at Germany, for example.
Germany, 2 of 3. Transfer SIM from another device.
Tapping on Germany, here's what we got.
Telekom Deutschland, 1 of 3, in list, 3 items.
Next.
Other service provider, 2 of 3.
And there's just one there because we got that other, and then, of course, the other one to contact.
Contact your service provider for help if they aren't listed above, 3 of 3.
Let's go ahead and look at Sweden, though, so we go back and tap on other service providers.
Other service provider, 2 of 3.
There we go. And now let's tap on Sweden.
Sweden, 3 of 3, in list, 3 items.
And tapping on Sweden,
Transfer SIM from another device.
we got
Telia, 1 of 3.
we got something called Telia. And that's it. Let's go back.
Other ways to add eSIMs.
We'll go back.
Add eSIM.
And let's go back.
Connections. SIM Manager, 5 of 9, in list, 9 items.
And we're back to where we picked on the SIM managers or eSIM managers. Let's go ahead and look at the last item that I had mentioned, and that will be
More connection settings, 8 of 9.
more connection settings. Let's tap here.
More connection settings. Navigate up, button, out of list.
Tapping on more connection settings, here are the items that we come across.
Nearby device scanning, 1 of 6.
We have the nearby device scanning, so if you tap here, you'll see the things that are near you. Of course, it's going to ask for being able to allow location access, things like that, so it could see things that are near you.
Nearby device scanning, switch, on.
And we have the on-off switch on the right side of it.
Printing, 2 of 6.
Next, we have printing. Below that,
VPN, none, 3 of 6.
we've got a VPN. If you're into VPN, you want to set up a VPN. This is where you come and set up that VPN.
Private DNS, automatic, 4 of 6.
And we have private DNS and it's auto, but if you want to change it to something specific, this is where you tap to go change or make those changes.
Ethernet, disabled, 5 of 6.
And we have Ethernet, and it's disabled because I don't have a dongle for an Ethernet that's plugged into my USB-C. But if I had one and plugged it in, that would become active to where we could use an Ethernet connection so that one could connect direct using an Ethernet cord. And that's the last item. And that will be it for this. And I'll now hand it back over to the podcast crew as we deliberate on these things.
Thank you, Warren. I've got to say, I do prefer Samsung's connection settings over Google's or native Androids by quite some distance. I don't know what everyone else thinks.
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I rarely go in. I might go in here once to set something up, but I think most of the time I use either my quick settings or I just use Bixby, if I want to turn on hotspot or something like that, So, I think they're both fine. They're easy enough to find what you want to get to and set it up if you need to.
I think Google system settings buries more stuff than Samsung's does. It didn't used to, but now it does. Yes, you can. You can go into quick settings. That's absolutely fine. But maybe in a scenario where you've got an earpiece and you need to use your phone in a pocket and you haven't got space to use 3 fingers, I just prefer Samsung's things. More things are pulled out at the higher level than on Google's, I think, anyway. At that first kind of level, it's not level 1, is it? Because we're a couple of categories. For instance, I think accessing Wi-Fi on Samsung is easier than Google.
Now, there are things in here that I think, though, that especially having to do with that eSIM card management. I don't know how it is in other countries, but like looking there on that Samsung that I demonstrated, showed you don't see all the networks, and then all that. If you don't have it, you have to do this QR code stuff. If the network is whatever, I just wish that we have a situation whereby every carrier has that eSIM capability, and they're there so that one could just choose it. But like when I went there, I didn't even see my Google Fi. So, for example, if I wanted to use my S21 with the Fi services, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's a little bit annoying if you ask me.
So how do you get around that then? What would or you can't do it?
So right now, I don't use the Samsung as my main driver. I use the Pixel, and with my Pixel, it is there, and I just have to just tap on that, and it will just work. And so here's how I would love to see my dream of how the eSIM capability should be. You tap on download an eSIM, and then you have all the carriers in there, regardless of who they are. You tap on that, you install it, and to verify it, you put your phone number that you belong to that company with, and it recognizes you, and you're on your journey. That's how it should be. Why can't we, take the complicated out of the uncomplicated? You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, I think that's how to do it. The UK eSIMs are really backward. Like there are some where maybe for international travel, some of the mobile virtual network operators are a bit smarter. But what has to happen for the main networks in the UK is the only way you can get an eSIM is to have a piece of paper with the QR code on it, which you scan. There is no way for your phone when setting up to download an eSIM without that piece of paper, which is crazy when you think it's an eSIM.
Yeah, and exactly. If you don't have that QR code, and even if they say you can go to the website and scan it, what if you don't have a computer nearby? You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
what I said earlier
but
would have made
the
better
UK
sense.
networks won't let you do that. The QR code on a screen, that's kind of all right. They won't even do that. You literally need the piece of paper.
Yeah, no, see, that's stupid. Some of them here will have you scan it on the web page, but that's stupid. What if you don't have a computer there with you? So, like I said, I see it better this way. Download the stuff from the carrier, it's listed in there, and just verify it with your number, and you're good to go. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
I think
already on your network. You know me, and if I put in my number, and you'll find me in your database and get me going. Why are we making this simple process so complicated? It's more complicated than what it really is.
Yeah, I think it needs to get to the point where the phone that you have your active eSIM in, you can just go into about phone, see your eSIM, and then hit a button that says create QR code, and then it puts a QR code on your screen, and then you can just scan the new phone with that, and it'll transfer the eSIM to the phone like that. When it gets to that point, that's when I'll start using eSIM. But right now, it's just so much easier for me to just, I have a SIM removal tool on my keychain, and I just take the SIM card out and switch phones. That's just so much easier these days. So it has a ways to go, I think.
Yeah.
So what I want to say about eSIM is that in India, the eSIM situation is different. You have to first register your email ID with your provider. You can do it anytime when you're taking a new SIM or anytime. New SIM, I mean physical SIM. So then you message them by SMS saying your eSIM space, your number, and send them the message. They'll email you a QR code. You scan that. When you click download an eSIM, then you select download, scan a QR code, and it will scan that QR code that you got in the email and activate your eSIM. Now, the one of the reasons why the eSIM, with like Warren said, you put your phone number and it will activate it. That won't work because scammers, they have your number, so they can easily put in your number, because like in India, they have these codes. Each network have the code, like 9819 is like Airtel code, and something else is Vodafone code. So the scanner will know that you're in this network. So they will put your phone number, see your network, and activate a fake SIM on your behalf. So that will not work. But the next way is that John said, create a QR code. That is going to work. And also in India, when you're transferring an eSIM from one phone to another, you can message them again using the same command. They'll email you a new QR code, and with that new phone, you scan that QR code and you can transfer your eSIM from your old phone to your new phone. That is very easy. But in Samsung, what my brother told me, you can keep both eSIMs active at the same time. But in the Pixel, you can only keep one eSIM and one physical SIM active in the same time, at least in India. So Samsung has got that advantage for it.
Now, there are a couple rebuttals I want to make here. So you don't have a computer. You're getting a phone. You got that new phone. You don't have a physical SIM card, and you wanted to use an eSIM. How in the world are you going to get that email and open it up to scan that QR code? Number two, here on my Pixel, I can have two eSIM cards. There's slots for them. I don't know why you don't have it, but it shows that on mine, you could do that. Now, the other thing is, I understand the concern that you have about the someone, having your number and they could download you or whatever. Well, we need to find a way to protect that, but I don't know how that would be. But frankly, if we're going to make the eSIM to be something that people could adopt, then we should find a way of making it easier for them, because if not, it's going to be more of a repellent.
Yeah. Warren, you've got two eSIMs though. Can they both be active on the Pixel? I think that's the thing, isn't it, Austin?
Yeah, on my Pixel, I can add as many like two eSIMs, but I can only keep one eSIM active at the same time.
Active. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why it would, because you have that primary or secondary. So one would be primary and one would be secondary.
No,
And
it doesn't. It doesn't mean that. It means, let's say you've got two SIMs. If you've got two physical SIMs in your phone, and someone rings you on what is your second line, the phone will ring. If you've got two eSIMs on some phones, that second eSIM will not ring. Obviously, for data or for dialing out or messages out, there's going to be one active SIM. Question is, can the other SIM, the second SIM, be active for incoming messages and calls?
Now, so I frankly haven't done that. And it seems like maybe every country has something different about it. It could be something that is not doable in India, but that does not mean that it doesn't work in other places, since one has not really tried it.
I think, unless I've misunderstood, Austin, you're saying for your brother, he can have two SIMs active on the S23. you can't have two eSIMs active on the Pixel, unless I've got that wrong.
No, because I tried two eSIMs on a Pixel and I could only have one active. So when somebody calls me on my second eSIM, it used to show that the second eSIM is switched off. But on the S23, he can have both the eSIMs active. And I also wanted to ask Warren, I mean, you're getting an eSIM, how do you not have your physical SIM? Even if you have it in your old phone, you can message them from your old phone. You should not message them from the new one itself. So you should have a physical SIM, I think, or even an eSIM. Even if you have an eSIM in your old phone, you can transfer that over to your new phone by messaging them again that you want a new eSIM using the command that they'll give you.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you didn't have a physical SIM card, okay, you just got a phone and you don't want to be waiting in the mail or you go down to 7-Eleven and pick up a SIM card or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You are blind, for example. I'm talking about ease of use here, most especially to those of us who are blind. Just imagine you live by yourself and you go grab a SIM card thing from 7-Eleven. You got to type in all of those numbers, blah, blah, blah. Why not just have an eSIM card and just simplify the process? That's my whole concern.
So you are talking about like if a person gets a phone for the first time and has never used a mobile network before, are you talking about that?
Yes, that primarily
But
that,
let
and
me
or if I decided, like for example, Ed, you are talking about resetting the phone. Well, if you reset the phone, if you've erased the SIM card and you reset the phone, it's not going to come back. You have to re-download it. I mean, I've done this a million times
let
on
me
my
ask you
Well,
this,
yeah.
Pixel
Well,
Warren.
phone.
what I'm saying though, sorry, John. What I'm saying about that though, which is different in the UK, is, or for setting something up from new, at least it knows it used to have a SIM card, and it pops up and says, "Do you want to download the SIM card you just had in this phone?"
Yeah, but that happens if you didn't reset the network. If you did, that's not going to come up.
Let me ask you this,
Well, it
Warren.
happens if you reset the phone.
No, if all you did was reset the phone, it's not going to erase the eSIM card. But if you erase the eSIM card before resetting the phone, you're not going to get that dialogue you're
Oh
talking
no,
about.
no. If
Yeah.
you delete the SIM card off the phone before the
So
phone's
that's what
reset, anyway.
I'm saying. So see, for me, I have multiple times, erased the SIM card and then reset my phone. And then in the process of setting up my device, I choose, hey, I want to use an eSIM, and it provides the list of eSIM providers that I can access, and I pick out my provider in there, and it just recognizes me because it sees my email that I put in there matching with my phone number. And that's it. That's what I'm talking about. I like the way Google Wireless does it.
You're listening to the Blind Android Users podcast.
Because to be honest with you guys, this thing it bothers me a lot. I want simplicity.
Simplicity. I like what we did there. Capital S, capital I, capital M.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I do like that.
because even once I had erased my eSIM and I had to go to the network provider shop and get a physical SIM and then wait for 24 hours till
Well,
the
that's stupid.
SMS gets enabled and then convert it into eSIM, and that was very complicated.
Absolutely stupid. I don't do that with my wireless, Google Fi. Not at all. I can erase the SIM, reset the phone, back on, or a brand new phone. It recognizes it from my email address, and it says, "Hey, you want to transfer your whatever to this phone, even if it's active on another phone." Say yeah, and I'm
No, in
in.
India,
mean,
in India, you can only do this via QR code. There's no other way to do it.
yeah. I mean, what you should be able to have is multiple SIMs for the same number, isn't it? And that would just make it easier. I don't know why you can't these days. You should be able to.
Or like Austin was saying earlier, and I think this is what Google is also working on, to be able to, see my messages across my devices, even if they don't have a SIM card. But, for example, let's say I have, my Pixel 5 or, something mundane like that, like what the kettle thief has. And I have my Pixel 7 Pro, and I'm seeing my messages. I want those messages that I'm getting currently on my Pixel 7 Pro to be synced to my Pixel 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as I'm on Wi-Fi, that's how it ought
Well,
to
no,
be.
so I'm saying you shouldn't have to be on Wi-Fi. Like, they should all be able to have the same data connection on 5G or LTE or whatever. But yeah, obviously on Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
you
but
use Telegram or whatever.
they are too greedy. They don't want us to have it. But I mean, we're paying
No.
for it. You know what I mean? You're correct.
I know.
We're already paying for that. So open it up. Come on.
Yeah, and don't change my allocation. That's fine. If I've only got 10 gigabytes, give me across 20 phones if that's what I decide to do with it.
Exactly.
And if I exceed it, more for me. I don't want anything extra for free. Just let multiple eSIMs or even physical SIMs, I don't care, work across one number.
And if I exceed it, you know what? That's better for them because what?
Well,
They get to
exactly.
charge.
Yeah.
They get to charge me for it. So
Yeah,
who's
exactly.
losing?
So that's
They're
why they
not
don't do it.
losing.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, never mind.
Stupid.